All right. Good evening. Welcome. Likutey Moharan, Shir, Besar des Medrash, Torah Lamed Ches, which deals with connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the point that a person is physically embarrassed for Hashem's Baruch. And this kind of embarrassment, as we know from Torah Vav, Torah 6, is something which is perpetual, because whenever it is you do tshuva, you reach a higher recognition of Hashem's greatness. The more you recognize how great Hashem is, the more embarrassed you are. Because the kind of tshuva you did before was commensurate with how cognizant you were of Hashem's greatness. You know, once you climb up to a higher madrega and you realize that Hashem is far greater than you thought he was, that causes you to be embarrassed by, there's a very famous story about Rabbi Sadia Gaon. Was the last of the Gaonim, and he went on a ship to Turkey.
He went?
On a ship. He traveled by ship.
Yeah, traveled by ship. Yeah.
He sailed from Eretz Israel, I think from Israel, whatever he sailed to Turkey. And he arrived in Istanbul, Constantinople of those days.
Yeah.
And like the minhag was in those days, he went to shul, and somebody took him home. Somebody.
In Istanbul.
Yeah, so one of the Jews, local Jews, just, a balabais, a choshev guy, took him home. And he treated him very nicely, very graciously. Now, I don't know if there were plaques all over town, or if there were announcers in the town square, standing, "Hear ye, hear ye," kind of. And it says,
Like you do here in the car.
What?
They go up and down the street.
Right. So they said that on Shabbos they have the great schos that the Godel Ador of Sadia Gaon is going to darshan in the shul. And all the people came, a big shul, and everybody came, was full, and the host of Reb Sadia Gaon was there as well. And when Reb Sadia Gaon came up to speak, the host suddenly sees that's his guest. He didn't realize who this guest was.
Oh, he didn't realize?
No, he didn't know who he was. And he was like, he was shocked.
Oh, when they called him up to speak, so he realized...
So Reb Sadia Gaon came up and he recognized that's his guest. So after the drasha, he came to him And he mamash fell to his feet and he begged Tzaddik Gaon to forgive him. So Tzaddik Gaon said, forgive you for what? He says, for not treating you properly. So he says, you didn't treat me properly? You treated me beautifully. He said, yeah, but I didn't know who you were. Had I known that you were Tzaddik Gaon, I would have treated you the way Tzaddik Gaon, deserves to be, needs to be treated. This is an excellent example of what Rabbeinu is speaking here, and he's speaking to Ravav, that the busha that comes on us for having behaved in a certain way.
What do you feel you did wrong now?
It's not that he did something wrong. It's
How does he know who it
it
is?
wasn't right enough.
How is he supposed to know?
No, there's no guilt here. There's no guilt here. There's just a feeling of busha before the greatness. It's not a yiras ha'onish. It's yiras ha'roimemus. It's not that he's, they're gonna, now I'm really gonna get it because I did something, If he would have chas v'chalila embarrassed him, whatever it is, okay. But he didn't. He did like he honored him. He would honor any guest. But if Reb Nosson came to your house, you treat him very differently than anybody else that come to your house. And if Rabbeinu came to your house, you treat him very, very differently than you treated anybody that came to your house. I mean, if Rabbeinu came to your house and you wouldn't know that he is there, and then you find that it was him, you would be appalled, you'd be shocked. You'd be like,
I treat everyone good. I feel bad about it.
Yeah, you'll feel bad about it without having done anything wrong. The same thing is here. As Rabbeinu says that first of all, in the Torah Vav, Rabbeinu says that first of all, the person does tshuva on his averis. Yeah. And then, when a person does full tshuva on his averis, he has to do tshuva on the tshuva that he did. Why? Because Rabbeinu says that when he did tshuva, he said, Rabbeinu Shalom, I'm sorry. How much did you mean that you're really sorry? This Rabbeinu brings the pasuk, Mi yomar tiharti libi, nikiti libi tar b'chatosi. He says, who is able to say he's already pured himself completely, from saying, the Hashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, as a lip service. Who can say that he really said it with total, it was a... and even if a person, Rabbeinu says, and even if a person has managed to do a full tshuva on his averes, bemet, he still has to do tshuva on his previous tshuva, because as the story about Tzaddik Gaon showed us, it's all commensurate to who it is that you feel that you have either slighted or haven't honored properly or whatever. Okay? And when you do tshuva, Kadosh Baruch Hu is revealed to you even more. So the way that you felt sorry before is insufficient, because now you realize Kadosh Baruch Hu is a lot greater. So in this Torah, in Lamed Ches, Rabbeinu says, how do you get from basically being almost unconscious of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's omnipresence in the world, to come to a point where you're actually blushing, you're saying before Hashem. So we went through this, and that's blushing that comes on a person's face, this bush that comes on a person's face, is what we called Ora Tefillin, the light of Tefillin. And this is what Rabbeinu is saying.
But sometimes when I'm davening, I wonder that I daven properly. Sometimes I think about it. Maybe I could have done better, things like that. Is that something along these lines? I mean,
For sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel maybe I could have done better.
Well, luckily for you, you are in doubt. I have no doubt that I didn't daven the way I should have. Luckily for you, you're in doubt if you daven properly or not. I have no doubt. I know I didn't do it. So that particular mamar that you get over the klip of Ketz Kol Basar by learning Torah, Tochatzchak, and then you start with the Dibur, start with Dibur Emes, you admit the truth, and then you reach to the point where you speak with fire in your Diburim. And then doing that, lifts the screen, the opaque screen, from the things that I did, but I said, okay, no big deal. All right. The worst things. You're kind of like suddenly I realized, the worst things. This is what I'm talking about. That's the standard I need to live. And Rabbeinu says, and so there's a certain kind of I would call it almost theoretical busha. I know I didn't do what I was supposed to do, but okay. Me? I'm the worst. Forget about me. So how can you live with yourself? You're right. No, but Taki, how can... No, you're right. In other words, I talk the talk, but I still don't walk the walk. Rabbeinu says what needs to be, if you remember, Rabbeinu says what you need to do is, you know what it is that you're doing wrong. You know what it is that you're refusing to give up. So it's, like children, they don't want to give up their lolly, that tsumi, We also, we don't want to give up the candy. We want to give it, it's a grown-up candy, but Sabina says when a person is willing to remove that stupidity and realize this is life. You're not preparing yourself to live your life. This is it. So you better shape up. When a person does that, then a new seichel comes in, and he does tshuva. That's new seichel. This is a tshuva. He does real tshuva. When he does a real tshuva, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu appears to him, in a much more clear way. Then the busha that until now was basically, kind of like, yeah. You have to be Yiras Shamayim. Yeah. I need to be Yiras Shamayim. Okay, I have to be Yiras Shamayim. Suddenly becomes like, it's a real thing. What have I done? What's with me? What's the story with me? How come I'm not? So, and then a person is zeicha that the busha is showing on his face, and anybody who sees a person who reached this madrega, and obviously, this is a cycle, because you reach it, and then you start all over again and reach it all over again. It's like it's tshuva on tshuva. It's nonstop, and you get to the point that anybody who looks at you, when this spiritual light comes, from your face, the light of tefillin is coming out from your face, they get Yiras Shamayim. They don't even realize what gave them that Yeshamayim? What caused that? But that gives them Yeshamayim, and we explained, that this is the pasuk, V'ro kol amei haaretz, and all the people of the land will see, Kishem Hashem nikra alecha, for the name of Hashem is pronounced upon you, and the Zohar says this is the Gemara says this is the film. V'yaru mimeka, and they will be afraid from you. And Rabbeinu explains it's not just that they will be afraid of you, but they'll get fear of Hashem from you, from your Yeshamayim. This is, by the way, a principle that repeats itself quite a few times. When a person clears up his face, another person can see where he is holding, as if he's looking in the mirror, as far as the Yeshamayim is concerned. So now Rabbeinu basically says he's going to show, how this mamar is embedded on the pasuk in the very. It sounds like a very old-fashioned kind of myth, but we find, that the people that read the Gemara don't realize that everything that Chazal says has gewaldige secrets in it. So there is a Marma Chazal in Maseches Chagiga, Tana Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi says, there's a Raisa, Rabbi Yossi says, Oy lahem labrius, woe to them for the creations. Royim, they see. V'einam yoidim haroyim, and they don't know what they see. Ha'aretz oimedes alamudim. The land is standing on columns. And ve'amudim alamayim, and the columns are standing on water. Umayim alahorim, and the water is standing on mountains. Ve'horim ala ruach, and the mountains are standing on the wind. Ve'ruach al sa'ora, and the wind, or the spirit, is resting on the storm. Ve'sa'ora al zroyoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the storm is standing on the arm of Hashem Yisbarach. And the Gemara brings various psukim, where it has come, where everything comes, and how many amudim there are. Some say 7, some say 5. Chatzvam de Shiva. And Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says, Ala omud echad. It's one pillar. The world is standing on, that pillar is the tzaddik. He says the tzaddik is Sadegah. And Rashi says, Yoitzer Harim Uveri Ruach. He says, the Kadosh Baruch Hu forms mountains and creates wind. So Rashi says, Ma inyan zeh etzel zeh. What one is doing by the other? What's the connection? To teach you that the mountains are standing on the Ruach. Ruach Sar Sadvaroi. This is something that the Dover, Ruach Sar Asosoi. This is underneath all the Yitzira, Zros Oilam Savul Tzaisoi. The arms of the entire world carry it. Now, when you take a quick scan of this Gemara, it sounds like, these myths from the olden days. Besides the fact that we know that Chazal are not interested in giving geographical or physical lessons and lectures in physics, everything that they say has to do with getting close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Besides that, there's a remez in the very lashon of this brisa that Rabbi Yossi says, "Woe to them, to the briyos, to the creations, that they see and they don't know what they see." If he was about just to tell you some kind of a myth, he says, okay, let me tell you how things are at. This stands on this, and on this, and on this, and on this. But what is this? Woe to them for the briyas that they see and they don't see what they see. And then he goes through the whole list. What's going on here? In other words, they see it and, they should know what it is that they see. It's a crucial thing. Right? It says, Oilem labriyos, woe to them. There are plenty of things we don't know. What's the difference between here and Neptune? I don't know. And it says, Oilo, it doesn't know what's the distance to Neptune. Right? You shouldn't even say this name, because the name of the Zohar, right? Anyhow, so Rabbeinu says that this Torah is embedded in that thing. He says as follows: that ha'aretz omedes al amudim, that the earth stands on columns, on pillars. He says the aretz, that earth that Rabbi Yossi is referring to, is the bina, that from which comes Eretz Chaim. Eretz Chaim is the thing that comes from the bechina of Eretz Chaim. Shemimena toitzeis atfilon. From that, we said that the light of tefillin. We said it before that the light of tefillin comes from the sphere of bina. What does it mean? It comes from the spheres of bina. Were you coming to teach us Kabbalah? Well, the answer is when a person uses his bina to look at the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then he's zachet to busha and yira. So from the bina you have Eretz Chaim. That's life. This is where the tefillin come out from, or the tefillin comes from. The tefillin is Chaim. Hashem Aleim Yechiu, right? That tefillah. Okay, so now we know what the earth is, and this particular mashal, this particular remez, that mystery that Rabbi Yossi is revealing. So now it says the earth stands on columns, right? So what is columns? The tefillah nikra amud. The tefillah amud, the column, is a euphemism for tefillah. Al Shem, as it says, vayamud Pinchas vayfalo. See, Pinchas stood. Haaretz is omedes, on an amud. Amud is Yamud Pinchas, is Pchinas Amud, Pchinas column, is standing. The light of tefillin comes from the tefillah that a person davens to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with fire de kegvuris. That brings into him great busha, and he does tshuva. And then the busha is reflected on his face, which is, as we said before, that's the oret film, that's the light of the film. Ve'amudim, pchinas tefillah, This is what we said before. We said before that they stand on water, right? So what does water refer to over here? The tefillah ala mayim hainu ala lev. It stands on the heart. The tefillah stands on the heart. Kmoshekot, how do we know that water has to do with tefillah that comes from the heart? There's a pasuk. Shivki chamayim libech nechach pnei Hashem. Pour your heart like water, before the pnei Hashem. Which means that the tefillah between a person and his maker has to be with the heat of the heart. Umayim ala harim. And the water, which we just said that that's the heart, is turning ala harim. That's the mountains. So now we have to find out what harims are, right? The harim zu b'chinas Torah. Harim b'chinas Torah shal yadan isoyer chesed Avram. That reveals the b'chin of chesed Avram. We know that the forefathers are called harim. Ala harim v'ala gvois. Harim is the patriarchs. Ala gvois, these are the matriarchs. That's beside the point. זה בחינת סטרלן is ערך חסד אברהם, כי הורים זו תורה, שהוא מרוימם כמו שכוסוב בי מלוך נמלוך. I'm the one who is teaching the kings the dinim and the mishpatim. So we see that the Torah is a very high and exalted thing, like the mountains. This b'chinas har. That's why it has the koyach to elevate melachim. That's one reason why the Torah, the euphemism of Harim, refers to Torah. But as I told you before, there's another thing. Gam Avram nikra har. Avram is also, euphemistically, is called a mountain. K'moshe Kosov, the angel told Lot that when he came to save him, b'schus of Avram Avinu, when he came to turn over Sodom, what did he tell him? He says, Hahara himalet, run away to the mountain. Rashi says, run to Avram Avinu that is sitting on a mountain. And Chazal says in Bereshis Rabbah that he will be rescued, that he'll be able to run to be saved, b'schus Avram that is called a mountain. K'mo shenemar shir hashirim medaleg al harim, skipping over the mountains, since the mountains are a referral to Avram, and through a Torah that you learn at night, that awakens the schos, the chesed of Avram, as we said here. Nimtza, that the harim is a referral to Torah. V'zeh umayim, which is the tefillah that rests on the heart, rests on the heart, rests on the Torah. The tefillah in a hot tefillah, with all the heat of the heart, comes from the Torah. Because when a person learns Torah from Aniyas V'Dachkas, which is Laila, Rabbeinu says it in many places, Torah Gimel most exclusively, that reveals the Pchinas Chesed. As Chazal says, Torah b'layla, anybody who learns Torah in a bechina of Laila, nimshach olav chut shel chesed. What's drawn upon him is chut shel chesed, the yeshiva of Rav Arush. Just wanted to see if you're paying attention.
He got it from here,
I know.
from Likutey Moharan.
I know.
No,
I know. I just wanted to
that's
see.
the Gemara says that.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to see if you're paying attention to what I'm saying. You're just sitting there being nice and not saying anything.
What's
So
number one?
I feel I'll pull your leg a little bit.
Say it over again, what was the?
Kol aloymet b'layla, kol aloymet teira b'layla, moishchim alav chut shel chesed. There's the string upon him, a string of chesed.
On who?
On anyone who learns Torah at night.
What?
Kol aloymet teira b'layla,
Yeah.
moishchim alav chut shel chesed. They draw upon him, they string upon him a string of chesed.
Yeah.
So I said, anybody learn Torah b'layla, he gets the yeshiva of Reb Shalom Aros, which is called Chutz Chesed. What's it got to do with anything? Nothing. I just wanted to check you out to see if you're listening, if you're paying attention. Listen, what are you talking about? And that chesed is machnia the klippos. That chesed is beating down the klippos, which is midas adin, and elevates the dibur from amongst them. The klippa, gets called basa. And when a person does that, he's able to elevate the dibur to its sherish, which is the gvuros chedaberu. And then he can really speak to Kadosh Baruch Hu with tremendous insistence, tremendous fire. So we have managed to explain what that the water, which is the hot tefillah, is standing on the mountains, which is Torah that the person learns in Bchinas Laila when he's in distress. V'harim ala ruach. Now we go to the next stage. The mountains are standing on the ruach. What does the ruach refer to? Hainu ruach piv shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the wind, the air that comes out of the mouth from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what is it? Hainu b'chinas dibur. Shaladet Torah's chesed, through Torah's chesed, which is Horem, Nisala Dibur, that elevates the Dibur. It frees and elevates the Dibur, which is Ruach. Kamo shekosov, shichvi ad haboker. Lay low until the morning. In other words, the entire koyach of the Sitra Achra and the Klipos is laying down and sleeping, is only ad haboker. It's only until the morning. The morning is the revelation of the Midas HaChesed. He says, Boker da Avram, that's Boker, this is Boker da Avram. The Klipos that have a stranglehold over the Dibur, which is Midas Adin, they surrender and they fall. And that's why when a person learns Torah be'aniyas v'dachkos, he's also zoiche that the Midas HaChesed in the boiker in the morning is revealed upon him. The Bechira of Laila that is within every single person is defeated, which is Sitracha and the Klipos, and then the Dibur goes to his shores. And that which they said, okay, now the wind is standing on the Sahara. That's the next stage. What does the Sahara is what is Sahara is doing here? What is the Ruach, what is this referring to? Veruach al Sahara hainu shebibchinas ketz kol basar. That's the klipa that wants to criticize everyone, put everybody down, and wants to cause annihilation. Ubchinas achar advarim is after the Malchus, is underneath the Malchus, which is the Dibur. The Dibur is Dvarim, the Dibur is the Malchus, which is the lowest Madrega of the Kedusha, and beneath it comes the Klipos, and they suck the Chayas from the Malchus. There is no other source of Chayas except the Kedusha. So they come from, from the Malchus. Malchus is the lowest Bechina. It's exposed to the Kilipot. It says Raglea Yodas Mamas. Its legs, the legs of the Malchus, go down into the realm of the Klipot throughout the week. And Yonik Madibar, and the Ruach Se'ara is sucking from the Dibur the Kedusha. And what that does is Ruach Se'ar, that creates a Ruach Se'ar storm wind, as we said in the very, very beginning of the term. Ve'Se'ara, Al Zroya Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Se'ara is placed on the arm of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is when Rabbeinu is giving you a little different kind of look. Ki abrios tzrichin leketz kol basar. Ketz kol basar is not something that was created to drive people crazy. It has a definite role in the world. That's the Malach HaMavis that kills the people. Ketz kol basar is the Malach HaMavis that ultimately takes all the people. Kmosha that kills people, Kmosha Amru, except of course everybody here that comes to the Shir and learns Likutey Moharan, that was at Hashem, after 120 years, goes with, with Neshika, because Baruch Hu kisses him and takes him away. As Chazal said, Vinet Tov Me'oid, on the second day, Chazal says, Vinet Tov Me'oid, it's very good. Everything of the Vinet Tov, Shem so, and it's good. Shem so, the Yid, and it's good. And the second day is a Tov Me'oid, very good. So Chazal said, Tov Me'oid da Malach HaMavis. Malach HaMavis was created on the second day. Because that, the existence of the Malach HaMavis is a thing that makes people be careful with how they behave. Because this olam, this world, is not the destination. That's not where we're going to. It's just how we're getting to where we're going to. Vishtal Shalusam, and where did the klipas come? Yes, sir.
Sorry.
And the manifestation of the klipa is that it comes from the highest supernal gvuris. Ki b'shorshay, because it is in the root of the Malach HaMavis, Tov Me'oid. It's very, very good. But as it trickled down all the way to this world, came the klipas and everything else. The reason why it is very, very good, because this world is a very bitter world. Whenever a person overcomes one challenge, comes another challenge. And once you overcome that challenge, lo and behold, comes another challenge. And people want it to be over with already. A child is small, everybody tells them what to do. If only I were to grow up, I'll do what I want. Nobody will be able to tell me what to do. Sooner or later, he grows up. And he sees that, and the grown-ups don't tell him what to do. But the world sure does. Reality sure tells him what to do.
The world tells them.
Yeah, it tells him what to do. Life tells him what to do. So then a person gets, he gets married and he says, if only I get married, he gets married. He gets married, if only I had children. Okay, if you have children, the children are, opening up the cupboards and pulling out all the pots and pans from the cabinets and everything. They only grew up already. Then they grew up already. We'll only get them chasanas. They only get them chasanas. Before you know, everything is over. You know, everything is, if only this stage will be finished, only that stage will be finished. This is the beginning that I'm learning right now. I don't fully comprehend it, but once I will, I'll share with you a little bit more. Because it is the beginning of chesroinus that gives us a sense of growth. That we know what it is that we need to become better at.
Chesroinus is troubles.
Chesroinus is deficiencies.
Deficiencies?
Yeah, well, trouble is a form of deficiency. I mean, the things that are good, the things that you can do are basically like the walls. A wall. That's it. That's what you can do. That's your life. The things that you can do.
Yeah.
The things that, you know, Baruch Hashem, that's it. You can learn, whatever, that is the wall. That's the wall of the spiritual house that you live inside your head.
Oh, the walls that you live within.
Yes.
Oh.
Your chesroinus are the windows with which you look out.
Yeah.
So, I know it sounds very poetic. I don't have it fully grasped. I'll learn a little bit more and be near to share with you what I was able to come up with. I heard it from a David Gewirtzman. I'm still not 100% close. It sounds so beautiful, so I thought I'll share it with you. And so it's tov me'oid, because ultimately we don't want to get stuck in this world. I'll never forget, I was experiencing some really, really tough time when I lived in New York. I mean, it wasn't just, but my son, Zolzai Gezunt, was born with meningitis, and they didn't know if he was going to live, he's not going to live, he was going to be brain damage, he was going to, all kinds of, whatever it is, Baruch Hashem, and my that everything's okay, and Baruch Hashem is, he's the one that takes me to Uman every year.
Your son?
My son. But at the time, you know, it was, while all this action was going on, and I remember that I went and I spoke with Rabbi Levi Shomishik in Brooklyn, his Bismedrash, from Echal Kodesh, and he told me, isn't it great that we don't live for 1,000 years? Isn't it wonderful that we don't live for 1,000 years? So can you imagine 1,000? People says, you know, Adam Arishon, they all lived 900 years, 600 years. Wow, they were so lucky. He says, what kind of life do you think they had? They had that for 600 years. They have that for 969 years. These kind of challenges. He says, we got it easy, 80, 90 years, 100 years, whatever it is, and we go home. That's it. Just imagine 1,000 years like that. So ultimately, Melech Hama is a tov me'oid. It's because it brings a person to the schar. It brings a person, you know, because one of the things that we spoke about in one of the shurim before is that when a person is young and he lives under the delusion that the world is his oyster and he can do whatever he wants with it and nobody can stop him and he has the freedom to do whatever he wants. This is when a person has to remind himself that there is Gehenna, that there is Kafakel Hashem Yerachem, and there is, you know, very bitter punishments, Hashem Yerachem. On the other hand, as a person grows older and is being kvetched and tipped and punched and kicked and crushed, more or less, you know, each one, that kind of thing about Olam Haba should start to concentrate a bit more about the inner that there is Gan Eden. There's Gan Eden. It's not, there's Gan Eden. There's Gan Eden. It's not like Kadosh Baruch Hu is waiting with a whip. Oh, just wait until I get him. Just wait until he comes here. Just wait, just you wait. Even that ultimately, whatever it is that people have to go through, is also just to enable a person to get to Gan Eden, to get to enjoy the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to enjoy the Meziva Shechina. I mean, even the bad, I don't say even the bad, I would say even the painful, even the uncomfortable, even the is in order, it brings to an ultimate good. That's why Tov Me'oid, that is a remez for Malach HaMavis. The Se'oiro, the Ruach Se'ora, the storm wind, in the Zroya of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, these are the five Gvuros. These are the five Gvuros of the supernal, as we says, the five Gvuros of the left hand. Misham Chiyusoi, this is where the Malach HaMavis and all the Klippas, from the Gvuros Elonis gets the Chayos until the time Ad Zman Bila HaMavis LaNetzach, until La'asid Lavoy, to the future, Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to eradicate all the Klippas, which are Pchinas Mavet, Pchinas Misa, and Bezat Hashem, there will be no more death. I want to tell you something that I understood, that I heard from Tzvi Cheshen, that was really an eye-opener for me. Especially for me, being that I'm the kind of coward that I am. He said, a person should not fear dinim so much. Should not fear dinim so much. Din, yeah.
Judgment.
Yeah, you should not fear judgment so much. I basically spend most of my life just escaping any sort of judgments and dinim and whatever it is. You see? We forgot. You get to eat popcorn, but the shiur starts at 8 because the clock has moved back.
I sent an email.
Yes, it's okay. Anyhow, it's amazing how much we do in order to escape suffering. They say that a person wants to escape any form of suffering 100 times more than he wants to gain.
He wants to gain?
He wants to gain. A person doesn't want to lose 1,000 times more than he wants to gain. A person doesn't want to suffer much more than he wants to have fun. It's escape. And the thing is that, I find that this resonates with me very strongly. And the whole idea, even though it comes without explanation. What do you mean, don't fear judgments, don't fear dina? What is it? It still needs explaining. It still needs a certain maturing of the inner self. I mean, we all grow wider shoulders to carry load as we grow up, as we get older. We cope with various things. We go through all kinds of things. But there's something that I personally find very promising, very liberating about this, just this amira of don't fear dinim so much. Don't fear judgment so much. Of course, you should always daven that the whatever dinim they are, they'll be sweetened. You know, and Rav Nosson said, and it was as Chizkiyahu HaMelech, Yeshayahu Novi came to him and told him that we learned it in the Torah. And he told him that he was sick. Yeshayahu Novi was his cousin. And to Chizkiyahu HaMelech and told him, you're going to die. So Chizkiyahu HaMelech told him, Ben Amoitz, Yeshayahu Ben Amoitz, turn around and out you go. Get out of here. Kach mekublani mi beis Abba. This is a Kabbalah that I have from the house of my father, which is David HaMelech, that even if a sharp sword is dangling over the head of a person, lo yisyash min harachamim, a person should not despair from the rachamim yeshuv HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then it says, Vayasev Chizkiyahu panav al akir. He turned his head to the wall and he cried. He says, Vayasev panav al akir. What was the wall? Would he care that he turned to the wall? Why not to the window? Why not to the table? Why not to the chair? Chazal says, Akiras liboy, that's the walls of his heart. That he bashed his head against the walls of his heart. So as Yeshayahu was going out from his chamber, as the king sent him, Hashem revealed himself to Yeshayahu, and he said, he davened, and I decided to give him 15 more years. Go back and tell him. So he went back and he told him. So he said, Hashem said that you're going to get 15 more years with the schus of David Avicha, David your father. So Chizkiyahu, which was a tzaddik, he says, La shalom mar limar. This we had the whole talk about it in Torah Chav Zayin. That the derech of shalom is to come through bitterness. It's come through Yisurim. It leads to peace. It leads to unity.
The derech of shalom is what?
Leads through bitterness. Refuah comes in bitter pills, bitter measures. So this is what it says, La shalom mar limar, for the shalom, it's bitter, it's very bitter for me. So Chazal says, Chizkiyahu said it's bitter that I was announced that I got the Yeshua not because I am a tzaddik, but because David HaMelech was a tzaddik, because of him. I mean, we wouldn't care. I mean, I don't care, but with whose chus you're going to give me the Yeshua as long as you do it. But somebody like Chizkiyahu HaMelech, he says that it's the Besorah, the good news came through a bitter pill. It's not my schus. It's the schus of David HaMelech. And he says, you have chucked my sins behind your shoulders. So Rabbeinu explains that he says, Va'afta l'reacha kamoicha, Rabbeinu says. He says that you should be grateful that the bad, that the Yisurim that are coming upon you, whatever they are, because kamoicha, vis-a-vis who you really are, vis-a-vis what really should have come upon you. I'm not talking about everybody. He says, it should have been a lot worse. So what does Kadosh Baruch Hu do? He takes, we can't possibly carry the kind of Yisurim that we need to go through, in order to, there'll be commensurate, there'll be enough to wipe off all our averos. So what does the Kodesh Baruch Hu do? He takes a big chunk of all these averos, throws behind his shoulder. Okay, these, forget about them. This is forgiven. Just a little bit. So Reb Nosson says in Likutey Halachos, he says, B'ezrat Hashem, you should, B'ezrat Hashem, sweeten all the Yisurim off me. Everything, to the nth degree. And he says, and the very, very absolute minimum that I must go through, give me the courage to accept them graciously and with love and with emunah. That this is the best thing.
It's a kapara. They call it.
Yes.
They call it a kapara.
It's a kapara. It's a mirakavainas. It is a yeah. So B'ezrat Hashem, from now on, sure I'm going to be, as we said again, 8 o'clock until the clock changes again. Pesach time, whatever it is said. So all the shurim, all the Zoom shurim, everything is 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for being here. And B'ezrat Hashem, you should all have a good Shabbos. And we'll meet again here in Yitz Hashem. Kach Rabbeinu Zal next week.